Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we are going to do some feedback on Anand's speaking test. So let's jump in. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Anand Vijay. My family called me Anand, and my friends sometime my friends call me Anand, but they call me in general AV, and that's my short name. You can call me Anand. That's a
Okay, too long. We don't get any points for this, right? Could you tell me your full name? It's enough to say your name and surname. Then the examiner will say, and what can I call you, or what should I call you? And then you give something short. This is not part of the test. I understand, people say, oh, answer in full, give longer answers. When the examiner asks you your name, it is not part of the test. They do not judge you, good or bad, when they ask you your name.
great.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from the outskirts of Delhi, which
Outcasts? I think he means the outskirts. I'm from the outskirts of Delhi.
which is a village called Buradi, and the part of the northern belt of India.
Okay, so this to me sounds like a rehearsed thing. Of course, if you know that the examiner will ask you where are you from, you can learn a little bit of language, some good language to talk about, geographically where you are from. Don't overdo it. You don't need to add too many details. For me, a perfect answer is, oh, I'm from Caerphilly. It's a small town not far from Cardiff in Wales. That's enough. You don't need to talk about so many geographical things. Usually, where are you from is just a setup to say, and what do you like about this town, or what do people do in their free time in this town. So we don't need so many extra details, but the northern belt of India or whatever it was, okay, fine. But to me as an examiner, I think he's rehearsed this language. He's learnt this as a kind of a speech, and so I'm not worried too much about giving good marks or bad marks for this. Mostly I ignore what I think is a candidate's prepared, rehearsed speech.
I was surrounded by the forest, and it's in Asia, a famous country
Asia, not Asia. Asia has a j sound.
with a great GDP, and I am happy to live here, and I
Little bit of problems understanding pronunciation there. DBT or something. Let's just listen again.
surrounded by the forest, and it's in Asia, a famous country with a great GDP, and
Famous country with a great DRB. I don't know what DRB means. This is a pronunciation problem. I'm working hard to try to understand it, but I still don't understand it.
I am happy to live here, and I enjoy my neighborhood also.
I enjoy my neighborhood also, I think he said. Okay, so, what do we see about Anand immediately is that he is ready to extend his answers. Even if the question is, what is your name? Where are you from? He's ready to extend. He shows decent fluency, good development, but I know that these are probably prepared answers, and so I'm waiting to see now how he will do with less predictable questions. What do you like most about this place?
The most interesting part is the quality of the air in this area. Apart from the Delhi, the AQI in Delhi approximate 400 to 500, but in
Okay, so the idea is, firstly, it's great, right? The thing I enjoy most is the quality of air, or the quality of the air is fine. But then after that, I just didn't quite get what he said. Let's go again.
in this area, apart from the Delhi, the AQI in Delhi
Apart from the Delhi and the AQI, I don't know what that means. Apart from the Delhi and the AQI?
quality of the air in this area, apart from the Delhi, the AQI in Delhi
Apart from the Delhi and the AQI? I don't know what you're saying there.
approximate 400 to 500, but in my area it's approximate 100 to 150, which is
So I guess it's some type of measurement that measures air quality, But I don't know these statistics. Now, remember, this is an IELTS test. This isn't like a scientific breakdown of air quality around the world. Try to speak in a way that's normal for an average person to understand. Not everybody knows different abbreviations for measuring air quality. And so if you use abbreviations, you should explain what those abbreviations are, right? I could say, like, oh, yeah, I'm a teacher and I use a teaching methodology called CLIL. Okay, do you know what CLIL is? If I say that it's CLIL, do you know what CLIL is? I guess not. If I say that it's content language integrated learning, do you know what that is? Probably not. So if I use the word CLIL, I need to get ready to explain this type of stuff. So better to keep your answers simple. Don't start talking about different abbreviations that we use to measure air quality because it is not simple ideas. We want simple ideas.
A great living environment for the for me, my family, for the healthy environment of me and my the neighbor, my
So his pronunciation just seems a little bit rushed, like he's speaking a little bit too quickly for comfort. This can have a problem with intonation. It's not a huge problem yet, but it's just something that I'm looking at that maybe he's just rushing his speech a little. But it's still early in the test.
neighborhood.
And is your hometown popular with tourists?
Yeah, my hometown is popular because of there are few of the temple and the religious places which are
Few temple, he means temples. So singular, plural nouns, we should get this right. There are a few temples.
in count approximate 100 to 150
In count, so I don't know, in count, maybe in total, or there are a total of, or, there are about 100, 150. That's more natural.
places which are commonly 1.5 million to 2.5 million people come annually to enjoy their
So annually is fine. I go with every year. If it's a speaking test, we get about 100, we get about 1.5 million tourists every year. That's probably more natural than, in count there are approximately 1 million to 1.5 million tourists annually. Sounds a little bit academic in nature. We want natural, normal, easy, simple speaking.
religious activities.
Let's talk about memory now. What kind of
So I'm just trying to get, part one is personal questions. I'm just trying to throw some different personal questions to try to get him off script. So far, it feels like he's talking about his hometown. It feels like these are some facts that he's memorized. He's using a lot of statistics. So I'm trying to get him off script. Now talking about memory, I don't think he has prepared any statistics or any language for memory. So let's see how he does with this first real spontaneous response.
things do you have to remember every day?
For memory
So the question is, what type of things do you have to remember every day?
Every day.
for memory purpose, I think
Yeah, for memory purpose. Again, this doesn't feel like natural spoken English for memory purpose. Now, it could be used in some academic writing, right, for the purposes of memory, but for memory purpose just isn't used in spoken language.
for memory purpose, I think walking and the running in on a daily basis maybe
Walking and the running on a daily basis. Okay, how can you connect that to memory? I want, because when I think about, what type of things do I need to remember every day? Like, okay, I need to remember to turn my cooker off when I leave the home because I'm paranoid about this. And I also need to remember to write to my mum to let her know that everything is okay because she worries. And sometimes I can forget to do this, right? So there's a clear link between the memory of the obligation and doing those things. But I don't see the clear link between walking and running.
a routine part of my life.
And are you good at
So he uses on a daily basis again, which is a learnt fixed expression, which is fine, but I don't know if it's really situationally appropriate. But let's get to the next question.
remembering people's names?
So are you good at remembering people's names?
Certainly not. I'm not good at remembering
Great response. Certainly not. Cool. And now we get to see human Anand. Certainly not.
people name few of my
I'm not good at remembering people's names. So there's no paraphrase there. He's just repeating the examiner's language back, but he's repeating it back with mistakes. So he says, I'm not good at remembering people name or people names, but it should be people's, whose, Glyn's, Anand's, people's names.
friends also told me that you can't remember our name also.
Let's
So
talk.
he just runs out of an idea there, like certainly not. I'm not good at remembering people's names, and my friends tell me I'm not good at it. But okay, it's not really extended a lot. Like, how could we extend this? Maybe you could talk about whether it's a problem for you or not. Sometimes it can be quite embarrassing because, even if I've met someone 2 or 3 times before, when I meet them, I say like, oh, hey, you, how are you? And I think they know that I don't know their name and it feels uncomfortable. That's how you could extend it.
Talk about tea and coffee now. How often do you drink tea or coffee?
I in early morning at 6 o'clock when I wake up after running when I come back home usually drink black coffee which give me more energy and at office place
Which gives me more energy. So missing that present simple S,
I also drink a cup of coffee which give me energy in
which gives me energy.
evening also.
So he has to repeat that give me energy a couple of times to fill the answer. But the answer is well extended. The speed of speech is okay. I think maybe he is still rushing a little bit. The intonation just feels a little bit mechanical. So I don't know if he gets the intonation perfectly right. But I think maybe because he's rushing, it makes his speech sound mechanical.
And what's more popular in your country, tea or coffee?
In my country, it's a more popular tea, but I am a different maybe
It's more popular tea. The word order is a bit strange. Tea is more popular instead of it is more popular tea. The word order is a little bit strange.
from the part of the country. I love coffee.
Nice intonation. I love coffee. The stress really falling on love, which shows like a nice emotional, emphatic. I love coffee. Nice.
And what are some popular places to get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in your hometown?
There are very famous places from the people from the Bill Gates, the world famous billionaire, also come.
So there are famous places from the Bill Gates, world famous billionaire. I get what he's saying, but the sentence isn't really grammaticized.
In Delhi and drink tea from the places in Delhi such as Chai Wala, MBA Chai Wala. These are the famous places in Delhi to drink tea.
Okay, thank you.
So answer not fully extended, but
Now, in this next part of the test,
okay. So some comments on part one. So the first thing, the good thing is that generally it's quite easy to understand Anand. There are a few cases where he just loses me a little bit. Perhaps it's a bit obvious that he's learnt some statistics or some words connected to geographical features about his hometown, and that makes the language feel a little bit unnatural. I think Anand is approaching this thinking it's an IELTS test, and if it's a test, then I must use official academic language. That isn't true. In the IELTS speaking test, we want to see how you speak in a natural, normal, conversational way. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to use a lot of slang or anything like this, or like super casual informal language, but generally slightly informal neutral language is what we're looking for. We are not looking for academic language here. On a daily basis, we don't need. Every day is fine. Annually, we don't need. Every year is fine. For the purposes of we don't need. So some of the language seems academic, and I think it's because Anand thinks it's a test, I must show off, and so academic language sounds better. It doesn't in a speaking test. Use normal, everyday, standard English. Make sure that your ideas are clear. There are some grammar mistakes with word order, like I've mentioned that example where it is something. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was about 2 minutes ago. Mistakes with the third person S, which give me a lot of energy. Answers are developed, attempted. there are attempts to develop, but not always with great success, but reasonably well developed. A few false starts. There are a few breakdowns, where he starts speaking, stops, goes back, and has to reformulate. Intonation in some isolated cases there's good intonation, but it's not sustained over long periods. Sometimes it feels like he's speaking really quickly like this, and because he's trying to speak and just say all of the words that he's tried to memorize, it makes it sound like it's just everything that he says has the one type of intonation which is just flat like this, and it feels a little bit like a machine gun. So that's the type of intonation that I hear. The one exception to that was with coffee, which I love coffee. More of that type of intonation would be nice. So okay, I have a rough idea of the different things. Maybe in part 2 I want to think a little bit about vocabulary, because I've thought a lot about pronunciation, grammar, and fluency and coherence already in part 1. In part 2 I'm going to focus a bit more on his vocabulary. Let's take a look at the task.
I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Your 1 minute of preparation time starts now.
Okay. So just analyze this in terms of vocabulary. Then, so describe a risk you took. So we know the collocation to take a risk. Okay, great. Explain how you felt about it. Again, we have another task where you have to describe your feelings. So a lot of adjectives about feelings. When we take risks, how do we feel? We might feel nervous. We might feel apprehensive. We might feel anxious. We might feel a little bit worried. We might feel unsure. We might feel a little bit insecure sometimes, or worried, or we can't predict what's going to happen. We might feel relieved if the risk pays off. So that's a bunch of language connected to risk and connected to feelings that we could use. There are other adjectives like risky, something like this, or even the verb to risk something. And again, depending on the type of risk, he's going to talk about a financial risk that he took. So we might expect to see like a return on your investment, or we might expect just to see like the money that you make, or the money that you win, or the money that you earn. Lose money, something like this, the dangers. That's the type of language vocab that we might expect to see in a high-level answer. Let's see if we get any of that.
Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yeah, my biggest risk was in the year 2022 when.
So the word is risk. The S is before the K, risk. Anand says ricks, but it's risk.
I make an investment worth rupees 40,000.
I make, so it should be past time. It should be made.
In a stock market. It's a growing market at that time, and my risks.
It is a growing market. It should be. It was a growing market. I know I'm focusing on grammar and I want to focus on vocab, but these grammatical mistakes are really standing out as, very simple, basic grammar, talking about the present or talking about the past.
Capability was approximate 30,000, and I took.
Okay, capability, approximate. That's good vocab. Let's try to focus more on vocab.
10,000 from my friends, and that was a roller coaster ride for me for the almost.
Okay, I don't like this roller coaster ride. I feel like it's overpronounced. It was a roller coaster ride for me, so it's not pronounced naturally, and this makes me feel like it's a little bit of a piece of learnt language. He's learnt it and he's looking for an opportunity to use it. So it doesn't seem to me that language emerges naturally in the conversation. It feels like he is trying to insert it into any place where he can find it, and the pronunciation of it sounds a bit strange. So roller coaster ride is okay as a bit of idiomatic language, but we have to be careful how obvious it seems. If it seems too obvious, then it can have a bad impression.
1 month, and that was a huge risk appetite for me.
Use, I think he means huge. So use versus huge, that's a pretty big pronunciation mistake. Easy to cause confusion there.
And the result of that was a.
I do like his intonation though. He seems more human, and the result of that, like he's stressing words. It's not all just speaking like this where every word is pronounced the same. And the result of that, so he shows good sentence stress here.
Hilarious. For the first 10 days, I think I lost my entire investment in that stock.
Okay, it's strange that he describes this as hilarious. So he's saying that he lost a huge investment and he describes that as hilarious. Hilarious means very funny, so I'm not sure if that's really right. Let's just listen to that part again.
For me for the almost 1 month, and that was a huge risk appetite for me, and the result of that was a hilarious. uh, for the first 10 days, I think I lost my entire investment in that stock.
I lost my entire investment. That's beautiful vocabulary. Very good. I lost my entire investment. But I don't know if we could describe that as hilarious. Maybe if you have a dark sense of humor. Maybe.
But after a few time, I got
After some time, not a few time.
a reward of 10,000 extra, which
Okay, I got a reward. I don't know if reward is the best word here. Reward is usually, money that you get when you do something good. Like somebody loses something, you find it, you give it back, and they give you a reward. With an investment, we get a return on our investment.
is the at end I get 50,000 rupees.
In the end, not at the end.
And what I felt about it, it's a
What I felt about it, good little signposting language, a little cleft sentence, good. Let's see if we get good language talking about feelings.
it's a great investment for me.
Okay, it's a great investment for me, but that's very general, isn't it? Can we get language connected to feelings? Great just means, good, very good, great. But can we get language connected to feelings, how you felt about it?
And for my family, from that, I purchased few of the devices, and that risk was very good for me. And I think in the Indian stock market, everyone should.
Fluency is breaking down a little bit. He has to reformulate his language a little bit more. Just notice the reformulation here, where he starts, stops, goes back just a little bit.
50,000 rupees. And what I felt about it, it's a great in
It's a
great investment for me and for my family. From that, I purchased few of the devices, and
Yeah, so because of that fluency, I'm thinking, is he going back? Is he going forward? I'm getting a bit confused, just a little.
that risk was very good for me. And I think in the Indian stock market, everyone should take that risk and make profit according to their
Make a profit, that's a good collocation.
risk amount. And in 2022, when I make that investment, that was a great investment for me. And
Okay, so again, he's saying it was a great investment, but we don't get a lot of language to say how you feel about this. And so, always remember that IELTS questions are an invitation, both for grammar and for vocabulary, an invitation to demonstrate something. And explain how you felt about it. Really, it's like saying, okay, in terms of vocabulary, do you have enough lexical resource to describe your feelings? And when you just say it was a great investment, okay, you're implicitly telling me that, you felt good, or you felt proud, or you felt happy, you felt delighted, but you don't use that language, and that's the language that I want here.
uh, till till date till date, I am happy with that investment.
Like to this date or to this day, I'm happy with that investment. We finally get one word connected to emotions. I'm happy with that investment. Investment is a good topic related word. So really demonstrating some high level vocab in this part too.
And Indian stock market was booming at that time.
It was booming, good.
And what I felt about that, in that time,
So he's repeating now what I felt about that. We had that earlier. We had that about 30 or 40 seconds ago. So why do candidates sometimes repeat language? Because maybe they haven't planned. They don't know what 2 minutes feels like. They've run out of content. They don't know what to say. And because they don't want to stop speaking, then they just start repeating the same type of language they used before. And this is a negative thing for fluency and coherence.
was very, very seeking, and the goosebumps of that time also coming till date.
Goosebumps? I don't know if this is the right place to use the word goosebumps. Maybe you are just trying to use the word goosebumps, but it seems a little bit out of place.
it to my part. And whenever I think about that result, uh, till date I
Again, till date, to this day. Not till date, to this day.
make make my stock risks according to that period of time in till date. And I think
Coherence is breaking down now. I'm not quite sure what he's speaking about, and I think maybe he knows it too, but he's just trying to fill the 2 minutes. So planning, before the test, 6 months before the test, you really should try to get a feel for what 2 minutes feels like. And you should have a plan for all of your part two speaking tests about how you're going to fill those 2 minutes in a way where you don't have to repeat all of the language or all of the ideas, or where your ideas start running away from you. So preparation before you take the test is important, especially for this long term, this task two, where you speak for 2 minutes. Well prepared students know exactly what, or maybe not exactly, but they know approximately what 2 minutes feels like, and they can fill that 2 minutes without repeating ideas.
people should make their stock statement is make their stock investment like
Thank you.
that also.
Is investing in the stock market popular in your country?
Yeah, after 2020, after the COVID period, it's booming like a skyrocket, like a Starlink rocket.
Okay.
Okay, nice little reference there, like a Starlink rocket. I know Elon Musk seems very popular around the world. A lot of my candidates have mentioned Elon Musk either in writing or in speaking. So, an interesting phenomenon. Okay, I liked his response to the rounding off question. Like, yeah, that felt again like we were seeing human Anand. Very often there's a difference between the candidate and the human behind the candidate. The candidate often feels like they're in test mode. They're trying to impress the examiner. They're trying to use formal language. They use unnatural pronunciation. But they don't realize that this is often the thing that holds them back. If they can find a way to relax and just treat the speaking exam like a normal conversation, but perhaps one where you just have to express and develop your ideas a little bit more, but relax and use normal English, everyday, casual, conversational English, you will get a better mark. But okay, so going into part three, I think I already know what scores I'm going to give him. I expect the fluency to break down a little bit in part three because the questions are quite tough. I think I know what I'm going to give him for, yeah, for that. I think I already know, but we'll still go through part three anyway.
Okay. So you've been talking about a risk that you took. I'd like to move on now and speak about this topic in.
And you might think that seems unfair, right? You know what score you're going to give him. Like, that's terrible. The test hasn't finished yet. Of course, candidates always have the opportunity to change an examiner's mind. Typically, after part one, the examiner kind of knows what your final score will be. And then in part two, they might just look for something that they haven't thought of so much. Like in this one, in part one, I kind of got pretty clear idea of Anand's grammar, vocabulary, and the grammar, the fluency and coherence, and the pronunciation. In part two, just listening for some vocab. So now I have that idea. There's not much more for me to listen to in part three. But Anand can still change my mind about some things, either positively or negatively. He might suddenly relax and start using some more natural intonation, and this could boost his score for pronunciation. He could suddenly find a bunch of words connected to the topic, and that might make me reconsider the mark that I'm going to give him for vocabulary. So even though I kind of know what I'm going to give him, he certainly does have the opportunity to change my mind at this stage.
A more general sense. Why do people like dangerous things?
In stock market,
No, in general.
in general, risks. In general, people are often risks of the traveling of the vehicle transport.
Coherence is lacking. I don't know. I don't understand that answer.
And there are few of the cases in my country. Certainly, it's bad news for our country. But people are afraid of traveling on their two wheelers because of the risks of the accident and the death in the
People are afraid of traveling on their two-wheelers? Is that what he says? Do you mean like a motorbike? Or what is a two-wheeler exactly?
in that case are increasing in few of the past years. These are the risks we think people are taking nowadays, and therefore people are moving towards the four wheeler. That's their result for that.
A four-wheeler? Do you mean a car?
There
And how should parents teach their children what a risk is?
for the teenager, I think they should consider risks of the taking goods from the another
Again, you can see this reformulation, breakdown, false start.
person, and the I think parents should make
Yeah, in this part 3 now, this fluency is really breaking down.
their uh, their children aware of the what are the result of that risk. If a teenager or if a 21 22-year old guy think about a activity and what are the risks and the benefit of that, parents should tell both what are the risks and what are the gain of that thing. Parents should tell their children, and our children should make decision making according to that.
So I think he said decision making, but again, I'm just noticing what's happening in my brain. So in my brain, what happens is Anand says something, and my brain immediately says, "Oh, I didn't quite catch that," and then my brain thinks of the context of the sentence. And go, he probably said decision making, but again, I have to understand the pronunciation of a lot of Anand's words only through interpretation, through logical inference, through filling in the gaps in my head, because the pronunciation isn't always clear.
Now, some people really enjoy extreme sports. Why do they like extreme sports?
According to me, I think because of the adventure.
According to me, that sounds strange. So we use according to when we show that the information is about somebody else, right? According to my brother, or according to the news, or according to this academic person, but not according to me. So there are many words that we can use to express our opinion. I believe, as far as I'm concerned, if you ask me, to my mind, a number of fixed expressions to express opinions, but not according to me.
They want because of the sometimes they want uh, sometimes they want adventure in that field. Therefore I think
Sometimes they want adventures. That's good.
uh, people go for the roller coaster ride and other.
Again, we're getting this roller coaster ride, almost like he learnt it and decided I'm going to use it 2 times. Yeah, I don't see it used appropriately in the right context. I mean, it's in the context of taking risks, but people want the roller coaster ride. Adventures. What do you mean? What type of adventures? Maybe give specific examples. It can help.
Seesaw things and the modern
Seesaw thing. So he's focusing on language and not so much on ideas. So what kind of risks could we talk about with teenagers? Well, teenagers and young people, especially young teenagers, they might do things like climbing trees, right? Climbing trees gives them like the sense of adrenaline or something like this. But we know that this can be dangerous because they can fall and break their arms. And sometimes they take risks because they want to impress their friends. Like if they're riding their bicycle, they might ride their bicycle with no hands because this is a way of showing their friends that they're cool. Those are examples of some risks that teenagers could take.
mountain climbing, these are the adventure what people think about that they will happy with that, but
And
I am afraid of that.
They will be happy, not they will happy.
and do you think elderly people also take risks in their lives?
Yeah, few of the elder people also take risks in their life.
So there's no paraphrase there. Again, Anand is just repeating the examiner's question, right? Do you think elderly people take risks in their lives? Yeah, I think elderly people take risks in their lives. So to get a band 7 or higher in vocabulary, you need to demonstrate successful paraphrasing. And I don't think we've had much of that.
Life such as my grandfather take risks to run a business in their life at the age of the 60.
Grandfather or grandparents, did he say? Because he said in their lives.
Yeah, few of the elder people also take risks in their life, such as my grandfather take
My grandfather
risks to run a business in their life at the
in their life. So my grandfather takes a risk to run a business in his life.
age of the 60, and now he is a successful
At the age of is a good collocation.
businessman in my village.
He's a successful businessman, good collocation, natural.
And in general, do you think younger people or older people take more risks?
Younger people take more risks because of
Straight in. I like that he's straight in. He doesn't need to sit and think. Younger people take more risks. Good.
their time span and their new innovative ideas, such as Elon Musk.
New innovative ideas. Again, falling on Elon Musk.
Their time span and in their new innovative ideas, such as Elon Musk take risks at the age of 26, and the other startup founders take risks at the earlier age, and then they are now very successful.
So I don't know if it's the pronunciation or the coherence, but I don't quite get the idea. So Elon Musk and other founders of some businesses, but it's not presented in a very clear way.
Thank you. That is the end of the test.
All right, so not crazy difficult to score this. Let's have a look at the scores that I'm going to give Anand. So fluency and coherence, I think I have to give a 5 for this. So some good things to say. So firstly, you attempt to develop your answers. However, you often have to repeat ideas or language to do this. You also have a tendency to break down quite often in your answers. So I think you can just slow down, relax a little bit, and try to say something in one attempt. I think you're maybe nervous and trying to speak a little bit too quickly, and because you're trying to speak too quickly, your language breaks down and you go back. Lexical resource, I think this one is enough for a 6. So you do show, really do show some great signs of lexical resource. Especially we're talking about the investments and things. There was some really good language connected to that. However, a lot of your language sounds rehearsed, like you're reading from a script, like you just learnt this stuff. Also, you have a number of strange collocations. So collocation is like words that go together. You said like to date or something like this instead of like to this day. And there are a lot of occasions, a lot of cases of this in your speech where it's like, that's what he's saying, but it's not quite how we would say it. So a number of strange collocations. Finally, there isn't much evidence of effective paraphrasing. So, try not to repeat the examiner's words. Try not to echo the examiner's words of the question back to them. Like, do you think older people take risks in their lives? Yes, I think older people take risks in their lives. This is not good paraphrasing. This is echoing the examiner's language. So try to avoid doing that. Sometimes you do it. Sometimes it's normal to do it. It's fine to do it, but we don't want to see it all the time. Grammatical range and accuracy. This one for me is a 5. So some sentences are error-free, but not too many. So there aren't many cases where you think like, oh, there are 2 or 3 sentences there without any mistakes. So most of your sentences have some type of grammatical mistake. You make mistakes with very basic grammar, like using present time when talking about the past. Using present tenses. Well, let's just say present simple because that's the tense that you usually use. So you use a lot of present simple. Even when you're talking about the past, you say, oh yeah, I make this investment, or I take this risk in the past. No, I made this investment, or I took this risk in the past. You also don't use third person S in present simple. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but this is a repeated mistake. You also have mistakes with singular and plural. So, of course, we could talk about grammatical range, about, how you could use different types of grammatical structures. But because your score is 5, and your score is 5 because of the frequency of the mistakes, I am not worried. If you were my student, I would not focus on grammatical range. I would only focus on getting the basics right. Present simple, present continuous, past simple, future with be going to, future with will. That's what I would focus on if I were you. And pronunciation, I think it's a 5-2. So in most cases, I don't have to work too hard to understand what you're saying. But there are definitely instances where I can only understand your speech through interpretation. My brain sometimes has to do some work to understand your pronunciation. You sometimes speak too quickly, and this affects your intonation. Slow down. Sometimes you have good intonation, but it's not sustained throughout all of the test. Mostly you're speaking like this, where everything is just like one type of emotion and I don't get to feel any other emotion. It's just all like one type of stretch of speech, like a machine gun. So that's the type of intonation that you produce a lot of. So overall, what do we have? 5, 6, 5, 5. So we have 10, 15, 21 out of 40. That gives you a total of 5.5. Bear with me, 5.5, 5.25. So unfortunately, that rounds down. So you're close to the 5.5, but 5.25 rounds down to 5.0. So if this was in the IELTS test with these scores, you would get 5.0, but your real score here is 5.25. So you're just one away from getting a B2 score. Things to work on, key points to work on. Firstly, try to control, I know it's tough, try to control your grammar. If you have elementary grammar mistakes repeated over and over, you're always going to get 5 or maybe even 4 for grammar. So you have to learn present simple, present continuous, past simple, future with be going to, future with will, as a minimum, few modal verbs, things like this. So firstly, try to control your grammar because it is noticeable. Secondly, slow down and try to use more casual English. Don't try so hard to use language that you think will be impressive. So that those instances of goosebumps and roller coaster ride, you might think they sound impressive, but I feel like you're trying too hard to use that. And when you focus too much on language, you lose focus of ideas. And so thirdly, just try to answer the questions in a direct, natural, and full way, and use examples if you need to. In some cases you used examples, like I like the example of your grandfather running his own business. So in some cases you do use it. So maybe that third thing isn't a key area to work on, but certainly don't worry about trying to be impressive with your language, and you have to control your grammar. Slow down a little bit with your speech. That can help with your intonation, because I think, Anand, your natural language is higher than this 5.25. I am only measuring not your English language skills, I am measuring your performance in this test, and that's it. only the performance in this test. Naturally, your English is probably a little bit higher, B2 upper intermediate, not C1 advanced, but probably B2 upper intermediate, but your speaking performance here is intermediate, B1. Yeah, so I hope that was, oh, 1 second. Yeah, I hope that was useful for you, Anand, and for anybody else watching. Again, I am getting more and more and more requests for speaking tests. I am trying to get back to everybody. I promise I'm trying to do this. If you would like to have a free practice speaking test with feedback, information on how to get in touch with me is below. But please be patient with me. Some people send me, sometimes you have the same person who sends me an email every day, right? At the moment, I think in the last 2 days, I think I've got something like 60 messages. And sometimes people write and they write, hey, I want an IELTS test. And then 2 minutes later, they send another email. Hey, I still want an IELTS test. And 2 minutes later, hello, are you there? I want an IELTS test. Please keep in mind that I do this for free. I don't get any money for this. I am trying to help as many people as I can. But please do be patient, because if there are 60 people who ask me for an IELTS test, probably I'm going to go to the polite ones first. I'm going to say yes to the polite ones, and I'm going to say no to the people who are too aggressive with their requests. So, just be patient, and please keep in mind that you are not the only person who is asking for this, for these tests. But if you stayed to the end of the video, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, day, weekend, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.